Welcome to my world here on YouTube. I'm your host, Moises Beauchamp. If you're not already a subscriber, hit that subscribe button, that bell, and get notified whenever I go live and upload. Real quick. Hear me? If you could hear me, and if you could see my screen, throw them ones up. If you could hear me, and if you could see me, or see my screen. YouTube has changed up on me. I've been using the classic version, so I'm trying to use the upgraded version, and I really don't know my way around the back office there. So, okay, so it looks like we're on. That's what it is. That's what it is. Welcome once again to my world here on YouTube. Hit that like button as you're coming in. Hit the like button. If you're not a subscriber, hit that subscribe button. And we're about to get on with it. Today, I'm going to be talking to Billy Jones' cousin. Billy Jones is a little boy that went missing like 55 years ago, and still hasn't been found. You know what I'm saying? We're praying and hoping that the same situation doesn't happen with little Dulce. Yeah, we're gonna get right into it. Like I said, I'm just getting used to this new platform here, so bear with me if I'm moving a little slow back here and whatnot. But again, hit that like button. I'm situating things over here, so I could be sure to see your comments and all that good stuff. You feel me? Just bear with me here just a minute. For this one, I should have went with the classic version, but I wanted to try out their new version, so here we are. So just bear with me real quick. I'm going to be calling little Billy's, or he ain't so little no more, is he? I'm going to be contacting the cousin here in a minute. Looks like I got everything together here. Alright. So y'all can hear me good? Correct? Yeah, y'all can hear me. And y'all see the screen. But yeah, like I said, we're gonna be talking to little Billy real quick before I continue. This would be the last time that I will be addressing the drama that has been coming to the channel here lately. No more of that. I will not address it. I will ignore it. And that's it. You know what I'm saying? No drama, drama free. We here to spread awareness on finding little Dulce, and that's that. If you're not with the program, then unsubscribe and just don't watch me no more. Don't listen to me no more. Point blank. Period. So with that said, we're gonna continue on. Let me open up my phone line here real fast. And I will be calling in Miss Kelly. That is little Billy's cousin. All right. Bear with me. I should have had this all opened up already, but I was busy today. Sometimes, life gets in the way. So I was running a little late, but we on here. Goodness gracious. Just give me a second here, my good peoples. Getting my phone line up. All right. Thank you for working with me over here. I know that I'm moving a little slow, but yeah, I'm about to contact Miss Kelly. Welcome everyone to the channel. Hit that like button as you're coming in. You already know the routine. If you're not a subscriber, hit the subscribe button. And we will have the young lady here on the line in just a minute. All right. Once again, welcome to the channel. Thank you for tuning in. Today we're talking about little Billy and Dulce Maria Alavez. How these cases are so similar. You know what I'm saying? Both cases. Little Billy was playing with his little sister outside, and little Dulce was playing with her little brother at the park. And they just disappeared, and we're trying to figure out. All right, I'm calling the young lady in now.
Hi, you reached Cal. Leave your name and number, and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. Thanks. Bye.
At the tone,
Wasn't able to get a hold of her, so therefore, I will contact Miss, or give her a chance to tune in. Maybe she's not on yet. But yeah, these two cases are just so similar. And the young lady, little Billy's cousin, she wanted to come on here and and kind of like spill her story on how life's been without little Billy and how their situation is on their family. But I'm pretty sure she knew that I would be calling her in today. Let me see.
Hello.
Hey,
Hey.
welcome. Well, I called the number that Miss Kelly's number, and
Yeah,
I was
she
gonna,
must be without signal.
yeah,
I've
was
been, she'll inbox me and let me know.
all right. Well, yeah, I just tried to contact her, and wasn't able to reach her, so I get you on the line. I know that you spoke to her yesterday. Tell us how that conversation went.
It turned out to be a real informational talk. She was stating, certain facts that are similar with the Dulce case, like information wise, that they barely know any information, and it's kind of like the same thing that's going on here. And she made some interesting points about the dog that had disappeared, and when they found him, he was soaking wet and cold.
Right, and the media really didn't mention that too much, did they?
No, they only mentioned it on one article only.
It's weird how, like I said, little Billy was outside in his front yard or backyard playing with his little sister, and poof, he goes missing. And we got little Dulce, she's at the park with her little brother playing. Poof, she goes missing. Little Billy had a dog. Little Dulce had a dog.
Yep.
I mean, it's just so.
And it was two kids and each, um, two kids, and it's ironic that they left one behind.
Right. Right, which it leads me to think that, there is more. There's more to this. I mean, it seems to me, like I've been saying from the beginning, there's big money. There's big money in human trafficking. Body organs and just humans. Period. There's big money in that. And here just earlier today on the news, I seen where they found a tunnel. You know what I'm saying, from Arizona to Mexico. I mean, right now, in today's age, the money's in things like this. Human trafficking, drug trafficking. I mean, it's big money in that kind of stuff, and it kind of makes you think, about all the weird things that has going on in my lifetime, anyway. As far as these missing people, or people just turning up dead for no apparent reason whatsoever, like the Kanika Jenkins case. I mean, it's just boggles my mind.
Yeah, it does for everybody because those that go missing and are never found are the ones that are to be questioned. Like, they're just not gonna disappear unless, like I said, there is some type of witness protection to where they get an identity change, but in some cases, none of it fits.
Right. Crazy, crazy.
It is crazy because you think about it, like, and then with a 5-year-old, what are you gonna do? What are you gonna do with a 5-year-old?
Right. Yeah, and like Miss sorry to cut you off, but like Miss Melissa says in her comment, she said they were both playing with their siblings, and there's a dog involved and water, because
Yeah,
right there at the Bristol Park, that water right there. It's
yeah.
just weird, and like you
There's
said,
an airport.
and like you said, what are they gonna do with a little 5-year-old? What? Only thing I could think of is if it ain't a sick person. Only thing I could think of is groomer, kidnapper, either groomer for to groomer as to be a mule, or prostitution, or even folks that can't have kids and they don't want to go through the proper chains of commands to get a kid, and they just go steal one.
Yeah, but where do those kids go that somebody wants to adopt out? Because they would have to visit a doctor, or something at some point. Well, not even, because remember what was that? Ariel Castro? Remember him? With the girls that they found in the house, and she was like, what? She'd been kidnapped for like 10 years,
Oh yeah, well,
and they.
that dude was just a sick puppy.
No, but I'm saying he never took them to get any type of medical care. So I was just, if they do get adopted out, I could understand they might not get, medical care.
Simply Made Humble said, "Is there an airport in Bristol?" No, there's not an airport in Bristol, but there's an airport in Millville.
Yeah, the Millville Airport. Mhm. Yeah, there's a Millville, and actually, it's not even too far. Like it's what, like on the way to Bristol. It's not too far.
Yeah, it's well, yeah, you could say it's on the way to Bristol. It's the the airport is what down there like Carmel Road or whatever, where they just built that racetrack at
Yeah.
out that way. But yeah, I guess you could say it's on the way to Bristol.
What car has that?
What's that?
I was reading what she wrote.
Right.
It said it had called her scent. But yeah, and like Billy, when they found the dog that he had was one of those hound dogs. And if you Google them, they're like one of the best scent dogs because, they use them for searches.
Right. What type of dog was it that Dulce had?
You're welcome, Jackie. Dulce, I'm not sure. That's the whole thing. We're not sure. But we know that it was a dog that was intimidating because I'm pretty sure a Chihuahua is not intimidating. And I would think that it might have been, and this is just me, these are my assumptions. I don't know. But 9 times out of 10, parents fear a bigger animal around their children, and then pit bulls are one of the biggest, breeds that parents are not comfortable with their children around. So we don't know what type of dog she had. Oh, yeah, look, Norma had a pit. Huh?
So,
I guessed it.
So that was the dog, the dog that they was taking out to the park.
Yeah,
So now I could understand why there were people complaining
yeah.
about the
And she
dog.
said he was friendly.
Yeah, but it's still a pit.
Yeah, and me, you know me. I would have been that parent.
Yeah, I mean, pets, they could be wonderful pets, but if they're not trained properly, they could be your worst nightmare as well.
Yeah, it can be. And that's the thing. That's the thing. You were always at the park, right? So, and you had the dog since he was a baby, so we don't even know how old the dog was. So depending on that, maybe he was there since Bruce has been born, and you're always taking him, like she said. She said she was always taking him to the park. Who was that person who was complaining? Was it somebody that was always there in the park, like an actual mom that was there as a concerned parent, or was it somebody that just said it? Or look, Jackie says that dog was friendly. He was cute, always jumping. I called him the horse.
Right. Right. Yeah, he probably was a friendly, cute dog, but again, people stereotype when it comes to pit bulls. So I could understand where there were people that might have been complaining about the dog, but still,
But
that's
that was
neither
the
here nor
only
there.
time. That was the only time that she left the dog at home. Before, if there was prior complaints to that, she didn't never leave the dog there at the house. That was the first day. I guess whoever told her must have, kind of made her realize something, and she was like, well, maybe I could just leave the. Maybe they told her, like, if you bring the dog over here again, we don't know what happened into the conversation into why she didn't actually bring the dog that day. Because if you look at the articles, there was a bus driver that was at the park, right? And she when she seen Dulce on the TV, she remembers Dulce from that Friday when she was there at the park. See, so Dulce visited the park. The bus driver put her at the park on Friday, and she stated that Noema was still sitting in the car. I don't know if anybody heard that. I mean, seen that article where that bus driver said she had seen Dulce a couple days, which would have been that Friday.
Right.
At the park. But that's what I'm saying. Who stated that? And it didn't even have to be somebody at the park. Maybe somebody at her house, or an uncle, or a cousin, or somebody told her, "Oh, Nana, don't be taking the dog over there." You don't know who said why, and then that day she left the dog there.
Right.
Obviously, the dog was important to her because when Dulce was lost, right, she called her brother and said, "Bring the dog." So that shows that maybe every time they frequent the park, the dog was taken, because look at everybody that goes there brings a dog. That's what I don't understand. Everybody that goes there brings a dog. I've seen many of people bringing dogs in there. I don't understand why they only told her not to bring the dog.
Yeah, that I don't understand that part of it. Where it's, I mean, that part there is confusing as far as the dog, because you would think that, you know, a park is where you would take your dog for a walk at.
And they got a dog park there. I mean, I don't understand who would have told her that.
Right. And that's not is Naoma's dog. It's not the grandma's dog.
Yeah. So whoever told her something about the dog happened on that Friday. That the alleged, the bus driver allegedly said that she had already seen Dulce there that Friday, and that her mom was sitting out in the car. So maybe that was the last day. So did the bus driver see anybody approaching Noema and talking to her and saying something? I mean, because she seen that she was sitting there and that Dulce was at the park. So did you see anything else? We don't just want to talk about that she was sitting in the park. She put that on the newspaper, and she made kind of Noema look real negligent when she stated that, because it showed that she had a routine of sitting in the park.
Right, the bus driver.
The bus driver.
So that was her routine then. She would go to the park, sit at the car while she let her kids go out and play.
Yeah.
So,
And maybe that was that she did everything wrong. First of all, she left the dog. I'm pretty sure if she didn't leave the dog that day, she would still be here, because if the bus driver spotted her sitting in the car while Dulce was playing in the playground, that means that somebody else spotted her routine as well. Because if a bus driver seen her doing that, anybody that sits out in that park and is consistently either walking the woods, or they're playing basketball, or they're even coming there to train their dog, or or just catching a game, if anybody had seen her routine, oh look, the same car, look at her pulling up, because that's what kidnappers do. They scope the scene out.
right, yeah. If it was someone scoping that particular family out, them particular kids.
Yeah, the witnesses. Yeah,
Right. Oh.
Jackie says that the witnesses said she saw Noema talking to the guys at the basketball court.
Okay, so she was talking to the guys at the basketball court.
You talking about the two guys, like the guy with the kids, or
I thought
just guys in general?
Yeah, because I thought there was little girls or something that were playing basketball at the basketball court.
Yeah, but
And that's
there's little girls, but did they go there by themselves? I mean, would you let there's some parents that do let their kids go out there by themselves, and then there's parents that are there with their kids. And at the age range, 10 and 12, I think, or whatever ages they were at, I'm pretty sure maybe a parent or something was around.
Yeah,
And that's what I'm saying.
I'm going back to the witnesses saw Naoma talking to guys. We're talking about as in men, right? Guys as in men. Correct?
It says, the girl told me that Dulce was playing with Manny alone for over 20 minutes. Norma was talking to the guys. This was the lady witness. Yeah, so then she must have been the parent. She had to have been then the parent of them girls then.
So where I'm confused at is, why is it that when Naoma got up on Dr. Phil, she said that there was girls that were at the basketball court. It's the first time I'm hearing that she was talking to some guys that were witnesses. So where are these people?
I've heard
at?
that before. Not only from Jackie. I've heard that before, though. So then that's the thing. Maybe they were talking to her and she didn't think that they were going to kidnap her, or maybe it was a form of distraction. Or maybe she was passing her off. But for somebody to say that they watched her talking to some gentlemen on the basketball court, that's concerning.
Yeah, it's crazy. So where are these guys that had these people been questioned by law enforcement? These guys that she was talking to?
I'm pretty sure not.
See what I mean? This case gets stranger and stranger as we go along. Because this is the first time I'm hearing about she was talking to two guys or guys.
Yeah, who are the guys?
Who are they? That's my question. Who are they, and have they been questioned by law enforcement?
And then that's another thing, that if that really did happen, that would have put her on the spot of actually doing something, like being involved with Dulce's abduction. Wouldn't she be in jail, though? Because then it would just say, okay, so you're lying to us, okay?
And they've been questioned.
And then the ex-FBI guy said, when they were doing the team player things, remember, he said they kept giving her back her phones. If they thought something was incriminating on those phones, they would have kept it for evidence. But no, they kept returning her phones back.
Melissa asked, she said, was this a few days prior to that day, or was it on that day? Who can answer that question? Maybe Jackie.
It must have been that day, because I heard that one. But I heard it only once. It was minutes before.
Right. So it was on that day. It was minutes before. Okay. Here goes your answer, Miss Melissa.
Yeah, and I believe somebody else put a post out. There was a guy who actually worked for Wawa's. He stated that he was watching her. He was like 30 feet from her, and that she was that this is where I heard it from. I actually heard it from that. I seen it. I didn't hear nothing. I seen it on someone's post because I'm always doing the searching. Well, I seen it on somebody's post. A gentleman that worked at Wawa's, that he stated he was 30 feet away, and that he was watching her. She was smoking marijuana or something like that. But I think that no, I didn't hear that they kept any of her phones.
Well, no,
they gave her back her phone.
Yeah, I heard they took her phone, but they gave it back.
Yeah.
So she had more than one phone.
I think she had like two. But that's anybody. We can't even hold that part against her with the two phones, because you'll have a phone that if you recently just bought another phone, and then your old phone, sometimes you can log into there, and do things too. Sometimes when I have two phones, and you've done it, I've done it. You utilize our second. I know, and you utilize one for recording, right? And then you use another one for surfing while you're on the other one for Facebooking, but we don't know what she's doing. But I would just assume that maybe that's what's happening.
Yeah, I mean, as many.
Hello,
phones,
Danielle.
As many.
And hello, Stacy.
As many phones that you have, that's doesn't matter how many phones that. I mean, that doesn't bring no kind of suspicions or nothing. I mean, it's as long as she disclosed that she had more than one phone, and they, the law enforcement went through them and investigated them, and if they gave them back, then that means that there was nothing to be found on.
Because look, that before Dulce disappeared, there was even a more gruesome case that happened in Bushton. Okay, with that lady, something Griner, or I might be pronouncing her last name wrong, but it was the one lady who her child refused to eat. I think he was a toddler, and she was like one of those cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs type of people. And because he didn't want to eat, she beat him to death. Then she chopped him up and put him in her Gucci bag, and she put him underneath her porch. And she went and she called the law. She went downtown Bushton into some alleyways, and she called the cops saying that she got beat up and that her son was taken because she was out there with an abandoned stroller. Let it go by that law. Within a week, her ass was in jail. Okay, when they started finding out stuff, she was in jail. You would think that day in position, if that actual witness was to have seen her with talking to two gentlemen, I'm pretty sure she would be behind bars until something was happening with either a body or her telling the truth or something. And she was interrogated, the whole time they were searching for her daughter, she was getting interrogated, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the drop phones, they're called burner phones.
The burner phones, yeah.
Yeah, you could use, prepaid phones. They're called burner phones. And that's any prepaid. Hell, I'm with Metro. That's a prepaid. I mean, you have prepaid T-Mobile as well. You have Virgin Mobile. I mean, you have so many prepaid providers that
No, but but there's phones like burner phones, like the track phones that you just straight buy a card and you just use straight minutes.
Oh yeah, the track. No, but that's how Virgin Mobile is too.
That's what I call a burner phone. Little flip ones that don't have no internet, don't have no nothing.
But that's not what she had. See, she had Android. She didn't have one of those ancient flip phones. She had Android phones. Yeah, I agree because I stated that myself. You seen the look that she gave him when he walked behind her, and then that's what I was saying too. Did anybody else see her eyeing that way and she was grilling hard that way? And it was like maybe somebody was saying something to her because Norma was so distracted, even at the store.
Yeah, I did.
It could have happened at the store. Because no, I'm just saying if somebody could have even took her at the store because she wasn't even focused on any of that. The only one that was more focused and more attentive was Dulce because she was the one that noticed when her brother went back there. She went and picked him up and brought him back. But who was she staring at? Who was she staring at that way? And she was real attentive onto what was going on over there in the corner.
Now, could have been that at the store, I mean, just hypothetically speaking, at the store could have been that whoever, one of them gentlemen that were at the store were trying to get the little boy's attention, and Dulce snatched him up and they were like, no, come on, let's go this way. And then maybe they got followed to the park or whatever, and at the park Dulce intervened again, and instead of the little boy got taken, she got taken.
That's what something was happening.
Yeah, I mean, it's just crazy.
She did look at him awfully weird. She did look at him. And then you don't know because that must have not been the only time that she's actually been in that store. She's probably been in that store numerous times.
Multiple times.
And, yeah. And for her to be picking him up that way when he's walking off at the store, it's a little store. It's not like a shopping, Walmart or a ShopRite or anything that she had to tell him, hey, come here because you're going too far.
Yeah.
He was just one out over from the other wall. That there was no doors there.
Even when Dulce picked the little brother up. Me, had that been me, the parent, in that situation, I would have been like, girl, put that boy down before you drop him, or something like that, you
Yeah,
know?
me too. Put them down. Absolutely. Or I would have said, or I would have even said, because you have their peripheral vision, you can see that your children are not even, especially when you're out with your children. I try my hardest now, because now I'm more focused on my phone than ever, but I don't take my phone, and I don't use it no more especially when I'm out with my kids, because that's one big huge distraction, and I don't know what was in her mind that day. She looked lost somewhere that day.
But the thing of it is, you can't even we can't even point the fingers at mom,
No, we
because
can't.
we seeing I've seen situations where, I mean, there's people out there brave enough that they would try to snatch your kid up right in front of your face at a
Mhm.
Walmart with all the
Yep.
cameras and everything, you
Yep.
know, and
Yep.
that's crazy. That's just, it's, like, what's up with that? Like, what's really good with these kids being snatched up like that? I mean, we know the basics.
Yeah. It's not. No, you're right. It's not. Look, listen. It's not the dog's job exactly to be a babysitter, but he was a security blanket. Okay? He was a security blanket. She probably felt safe with the dog there, and Dulce absolutely loved when the dog was there. Let me tell you something, okay? There are certain parts in Virginia that you're not even allowed to smoke a cigarette, okay? And guess what? I never even returned to that park ever. There was a park, and you had to go. The parking spaces was right there, but the park was down a hill, and you couldn't see. You can see, but you can't see. You couldn't see your children. But I took that risk, and when I was smoking cigarettes, I took that risk, and I walked up that little hill, and while I was watching my children from in between the trees, I smoked that cigarette.
I know you better lay off them cigarettes the way you coughing tonight.
No, not me. I'm
Oh,
talking. No, I don't smoke cigarettes. I quit
that's
smoking
right. You
cigarettes. I'm
quit
talking about
smoking.
when I.
Then what the hell you?
Yeah,
Why the hell you
I'm talking
coughing like
about in
that?
Virginia. Because I choked on a dang on Swedish fish.
We got people thinking you got the corona.
No, listen. I got a whole bag here of Swedish fish, mini assorted in it, and it wanted to go for a damn swim, and it went down my throat.
All right, well, don't chew on
But
nothing while you're
listen,
talking on the phone.
no, but listen, no, for real. Okay, honestly, that park in Virginia that's near the duck pond, or somewhere's out there. That duck pond that's out there. There, you can't smoke cigarettes in there. I went up the hill to smoke a cigarette, and I was watching my children in between the leaves and stuff like that, just monitoring if I see all three colors of shirts that I had put on the kids. But I took that risk in going up there to smoke a cigarette, and there was people there that was not with me. But we all know when you're a smoker, you can't tell me, especially those chain smokers, you're not going to tell me that you're not going to leave your kids right there. If a park was like that, you're not going to go smoke a cigarette. There's no way that you're not going to be able to do that. But that's just an example, of something I've done that could have, had one of my kids put in a situation like that.
I agree with Danielle. Never leave a dog alone with a child. That is true. No matter how close that
But
dog is to
but
the
nobody
family.
said but nobody said that any other day she wasn't part. Just because the bus driver said that and it established maybe a kind of a routine, nobody actually stated that that's what she did. There was only one person out of everybody that was there that actually put it on a paper. Okay? Out of everybody that was interviewed and all of that, we get a bus driver who's talking about that she spotted Dulce there playing by herself while she was sitting in the car. That was only one person. That was it. And it doesn't mean that the dog was there as a babysitter. The dog was there as a security blanket. The dog was there because guess what? it's a dog-friendly park. So she could have been sitting on the bench, or she could have been, like I said, she could have been smoking a cigarette far down if she was smoking. You know, we can't say that, because we have done things at park settings, at lakes, at oceans, anywhere where there was some type of family event. We have left our kids alone to walk away and go do something we weren't supposed to do, like go in the car and because maybe you left a cup in there, or go in the car because you left the drinks in there, you know, or go in the car because you had to get the food out. And your kids weren't going to come with you to the car. They're not going to come with you to the car. Heck no. They're going to keep on playing. And you're going to allow them to keep on playing. And especially if it's an area that you're very familiar with and very comfortable with, and you seem to think that you know everybody, you're going to leave your kids there.
Now we know that in 2020 you can't do that.
Well, hell no. Now you can't. Yeah. Listen, there were so many dogs that were there. There's even bigger dogs that are there that are intimidating. Like I said, I've been to that park before, and I've actually frequented not too long ago with Jackie. And there's a bunch of big dogs that come through. There's actually people who walk with their dog, and the leash is just dragging because they're training their dog. How do I not know that man is going to jump out at me? I mean, the dog. You know, like not too long ago when I was searching, and we came out of a trail. Right? Me and my sister, we came out of a trail. And when we came out, we ended up right there where the Sunset Lake was at. And the gentleman was jogging, and this big old pit bull I thought the pit bull was running after him to get him. But it happened to be that it was his dog. You know how fast I jumped over that little thing? I probably almost went for a swim but it doesn't matter. Everybody has their own way with their own dog. So her taking the dog there, and it's going to peck and bite other children, all of that stuff, it doesn't make sense because it's a dog-friendly park. Area.
Danielle says that her vet does not allow her to take her dog to the dog park.
Oh, she must have PTSD. Maybe she had an incident, you know, as a child. Anyway. She changed her routine because somebody told her that, you know, they were intimidated by the dog. And I don't know how extensive that conversation went to where she felt like that day she had to leave the dog. You know, she made it final that she wasn't going to bring the dog anymore to the park. And then that's why, unfortunately, that day, the dog wasn't there. Yeah. I know, ¿verdad? Nena. Porque sí. Anyway. No, because I don't want people to get the wrong impression of making it even seem that the dog was even like a terror dog. You know what I mean? It's a missing child. So somebody told her that the dog was intimidating. And Jackie met the dog. A lot of people are saying that the dog was a big old friendly thing. And the same way people are describing the dog, she also described the dog in the interview. So I don't, you know, in interviews, and I don't want to make it seem like the dog was like one of those you know, fearful dogs. No, because let's just say that they were planting all of this, and they needed to do that so they can have room to be able to take her. And that's how I'm thinking about it, you know?
Yeah. I don't even know anymore.
But I'm just saying.
It just gets weirder and weirder. Weirder and weirder. And then they brought the dog back to their dog. Dulce started the pit. They brought it back to look to help search for Dulce after the fact. I mean, that's kind of
because the dog was brave. I mean, it was her dog.
Right, it's her dog, but that dog is not made for that. For, you know, to sniff out people or whatever. It's not that type of dog. Dogs got to be trained for that. And I think it's not all dogs have that capability. I mean, I don't know. I'm not a dog expert. I'm just guessing.
Yeah, we're all going to guess, but we all know that we're going to say it like this, right? too many people have already given good dog characteristics on this dog. It says it's a big, whether it's a pit or not, he's one of the most lovable dogs. He runs. Look at Jackie. He said he's like a horse.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so that means he's probably a lap dog. Look at the Chihuahua we have.
Oh, the Chihuahua is a lap dog. A pit is not a lap dog.
No, I'm just saying, but some of them are like that. They're like babies. Look at Issa's dog. Look
Right.
at that big old dog that she has, and he's like a baby to her. Like he even whines.
Right, but still,
And he still wait a minute, and he weighs so much, and he still sits on her lap. Okay, and that thing is huge. I mean, his teeth is. I'm just saying. We're not gonna say that the dog was one of those terror dogs. When unfortunately other people besides the person who stated that before Dulce disappeared, is saying vice versa about the dog. But anyway, moving forward about the dog situation. She didn't bring it there that day, and now she's gone. But you know who else could have seen her routine? City workers.
yeah,
Because
true.
she was consistent at the park.
And we did have that strange situation where remember that city worker kept popping up everywhere
Yeah.
when we was out there searching.
Yeah, and she just started school, so think of in the summertime, she didn't have a time to go there. She didn't have to wait till after school hours to take her kids to the park. She probably took them during the times that city workers were there. They could have noticed things too. Because I think they let out about 3. I think they let out about 3:00. I think they end at 3:00. They
Yeah.
finished work.
Well,
Maybe it was one of them.
most of the time the city closes like 4 or 5.
Mhm.
It's usually like a 9 to 5 type of thing.
But maybe it was one of them. Because when I went over there, their machinery made so much noise, it's drawing to see what's going on over there. And maybe when he went over there, maybe he heard something. You know how it is. Any type of noise draws the dog attention, and maybe it just crept up around there and scared the heck out of a worker. And then the worker probably said that.
Yeah, because when you think about it, it was at a time where they were doing construction on the playground or whatever they were doing there.
Construction, they were fixing it.
Redoing the playground or whatever. And what has my head twisted is, why is it that like right after, Dulce went missing, and not even a week later they were back to working on the park. Like, wouldn't you think that would be closed off for a while? Gather whatever evidence you're gonna gather, and and then proceed on the work that was being done. It was kind of fast, in my opinion.
I think so. From a public view, when they're looking into a kidnapping, and then when they're looking into a kidnapping and how fast they just finished completing the part was, stunning, because you're thinking, wow, you really gathered that much stuff off of there that fast? I mean, because it could have went down to a cigarette butt. You know how many cigarette butts are out there? It could have went down to the trash, was the trash taken out? Because, right there in the park, they got the trash bins, right? Maybe he was drinking something and threw a cup in there. Did you gather that trash bag? And this is things that we talk about because, in certain cases when they're doing that grid and they're putting evidence in each little square, of items that were found, they put trash and try to scatter the trash around. You know how it goes.
So Naoma had a job during this time or before?
I don't think
I'm not understanding what Simply Made Humble saying there. She said Naoma worked before all this. But she was pregnant, ready to pop, wasn't she?
No, she was 5 months when Dulce went missing.
Oh, okay.
And she said she worked. Where does she work at?
She didn't say. She just said that
No,
she
they
worked.
do whole days. They get out at 3:30. They have whole days. And it was inconsiderate, just like Elena said. It was very inconsiderate for them to build that, like, immediately. And you know what was more disrespectful? Okay, is that a photo was taken, okay, of kids playing in the park and a mom just sitting there, and then there's still caution tape around, around the playground, the jungle gym or whatever that is, the slide thingy. They still have caution tape on that. And then they had an interview of a lady that was there, and she's like, now she can't walk freely because, she has to watch her kids now because of the incident that happened. And even then, they're showing caution tape wrapped around the playground, and kids are playing. How was that even possible? If it's wrapped around in tape, why would you even let anybody play? And this is what, like the day after or the day after that, children are still playing around there because people were bringing even their kids there while there was a missing kid. And that's more disrespectful too. There's a missing kid, but you bring your kids to the park. Why don't you just go there just to help out, not just to sit there and see what was going on?
I don't believe that part was ever considered a crime scene.
But she was placed at the park.
Right. Yeah, she was placed at the park, but I don't think it was ever considered as a crime scene.
I think that, yeah.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead. You go ahead.
I'm just saying that somebody calls you and says that your 5-year-old is missing, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the witnesses that are there are probably have already told you. First of all, when she called, she said that 2 guys, right,
Mm-hmm.
had taken her. So when you get there, you don't even know what you're getting into.
Right. And when the 911 call, I think somebody took her, or however she said it. It was like right
somebody
away.
Probably took her.
It was right away. Somebody took her. It wasn't. She wandered off. I can't find her because she wandered off.
She ran behind the building.
It was. Yeah, she ran behind the building, and I think somebody took her. It wasn't. That's it. Nothing else. It could have been 1,000 other possibilities besides somebody taking her. You know what I'm saying? There's water back there. She could have fell and tumbled into the water, or anything.
And that's another thing that everybody was assuming because somebody kept talking about how right there next to the park there's a body of water, the raceway. There's no way, because people were like, maybe she just tumbled and fell, just like how you stated it. But have you looked how far the raceway is from the park? You can't just keep on tumbling. There's trees and stuff in the way. You're gonna snag onto something on the way down, and it's a long tumble at that. You're gonna be tumbling for a good long time before you even touch the water.
And because it is kind of far. But if she was pretty far in there, it wouldn't have been too far. But another thing is that 911 call was weird. From the moment that they transferred from the first dispatch, from the person that answered the phone, the actual 911 center, from the time that they transferred over to, I guess it was local police, that call went all the way left. It was strange.
Mm-hmm.
It was very strange for that moment on, in my opinion.
Yeah, and we don't have that call wasn't. I'm pretty sure the call was longer because there was things that were stated between her and then the other lady that was talking on the phone, because remember that the lady cop stated that she was a light-skinned Hispanic, and we didn't hear that coming from Noema. And I've listened to the 911 call like 20,000 times trying to see did Noema say that to her. So I'm pretty sure that 911 call was clipped. There's parts of the 911 call that are missing, and I'm not sure.
It could have been that, or that the dispatch lady could have just assumed, because she said Hispanic, and she could have just assumed.
She said light.
Right.
Skin,
She could have assumed.
Hispanic.
She could have assumed being, because Naoma said, you could tell in her accent that she's Spanish. She's talking in Spanish to someone in the background when she was asking her about what she was wearing. So,
that still classifies a child with a skin tone that it would not have had. You said you could have just said Hispanic. You said light skin Hispanic. That means that you gave a color tone to her, saying maybe that's how she said it. Because I'm pretty sure if she, light skin Hispanic was real to the point, because that's exactly what she is. So you would have had to you can know that she's a light skin Hispanic, but you can't get the color of the clothes right, and everything else that happened after that. So that light skin Hispanic is very tricky.
Yeah. Everything is tricky about this case.
Yeah, we need to build a timeline. Yeah, I seen where Stacy had mentioned that. Yeah. We do have, and that's what I say, everything that was taken out before needs to be brought back in, because if you're going to start again from the beginning, everything that was removed, you have to put it back. And then you can take it out as you start reinvestigating,
I mean,
what you found so far.
Searching that area, unless you're looking for a body, searching that area is like pointless. I mean, what are you looking for?
No, but that girl. Okay, but we don't know how you watch that criminal stuff too much. She might not have been. You know how many times people that have been murdered or kidnapped or something like that, they're not there during the search, and then all of a sudden months later they're like right there, and you'll be like, wait a minute, that whole area was searched. Right. So it's like they're put back into the area. So
right, like the Casey Anthony case. They searched that area where they found her at, and then they ended up finding her there. So
and Elizabeth Smart. I don't know if you've seen the thing with Elizabeth Smart. She was missing, and the whole time she was right there in that underground little thingy, where exactly the same field that her father used to take her. She was there the whole time, and nobody knew she was there. Mm-hmm. And she was taken by her new neighbor that was living down the street.
I've been meaning to go through that players video.
Yeah.
The players in the case, but I don't have that pulled up right now.
Yeah, I've seen that interview numerous times. I thought that wall that was there with those little papers were what the police had up, but obviously I seen where she was actually printed out all that information and did a timeline on that board herself. So that timeline wasn't already there. She created that timeline herself to talk about it. And there was not that many people. If you notice on that first board, there wasn't that many people. If there was not that many people for her, they had the father on there. They had the mother. They had the grandmother. Then they had the prosecutor, and then they had, who was the other? The chief.
Mm-hmm. I'm about to play it.
And then what else?
I'm about to play it.
Oh, okay, well take the things off of the.
I got this.
I love you, sir. Okay.
Come on my show telling me what to do on my show, woman.
Wait a minute,
all right.
Danielle is saying they're going to drop a bombshell. You're going to drop a bombshell?
She said she's
Drop it,
dropping the
Danielle.
bombshell.
Okay, well, come on, Danielle.
Drop it. Call it in. Call
We
it
call
in. Phone lines
no,
open.
we call
Oh, no, it's
that
not open.
Christian fun facts, because this is a Christian case. Bombshell, that belongs to Nancy Grace. We have to call it Christian fun facts.
So we're working on the
check it out.
Dulce Marie Alavez case, 5 years old, missing out of Bridgeton since mid-September of 2019. This is a photo that the mom originally provided of Dulce in her kindergarten uniform. She was going to school at a Buckshootum school. She'd only been there a week or so and had come home from school that day.
Oh, I found
when
the.
she
I
came
found
home
the.
from school, the mother said she took a little while to get
Let me.
dressed.
I could
They
tell
were
you
gonna
what
go
I
out. It was a
found too.
beautiful
I found
afternoon.
an actual
She put
page,
on
like a
this,
fan page
yellow
that
shirt
didn't
that
even
had, I
make
think, a
any sense.
hippopotamus on it and
That
some flowered pants.
it didn't make. No,
sandals.
I actually
This is a
reported
picture
it,
of her
and
at
they
that
must have found
Sunoco
it,
gas
and it was
station about
removed.
an hour or so before she
Because that was
went
creepy
missing.
too.
How critical a piece of
It was
this
mysterious. It
information
had,
of the last
you know, it had a
visual
link.
video
It had
of
a
the
link to
little
the Daily
girl
Journal,
is to
and
this
when you clicked on
investigation.
it,
Well, it's important.
it had all of Dulce's interviews, and then the phone number was Dulce's school's phone number, Buckshootum School, and it said for missing people. It didn't make any sense, because why would Dulce's school be retrieving information on Dulce's disappearance? So I reported it, and obviously they took it down because it's no longer there. Yeah, you remember, right, Jackie, when I sent it to you? And it was crazy because it pinged right there in front of Dulce's school. I kept telling Jackie, can you look over there? Can you look over there? Can you look over there? Because it was just weird that I ran into that. And But let's watch. You remember that I called you and I told you, remember?
Yeah, but that's strange. Well, I didn't know that. What Danielle was saying about the day that Dulce went missing, that the news broke. She Googled Dulce's name, and a YouTube channel popped up with short videos of little Dulce, like, showing her off. When the news broke, like, right away. So that's weird.
Yeah, and I think I ran across another YouTube channel like that. I just showed it to you. What was it, like last week? And I screenshot it. I'm not gonna say what it is because I don't want that person to remove it yet. But you seen the odd videos that they even had videos of us holding interviews and like clips of certain like things that and it's sickening because
that's when you like a video, it comes up like that. Like if you like it, it comes up on your channel like that.
No, it's not my channel. It wasn't my channel. I was searching for something.
No, I know someone else's channel. What you're saying? Yeah, you could.
Yeah, well,
you could save other people's videos and save them on your channel.
Did you read what the head title to that said? You didn't clearly read it. What it said.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. But I know what you're saying. But what I'm saying is the videos.
Yeah.
They weren't uploads. They don't have no uploads on that channel. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and play this.
Go ahead.
Let's ponder on this.
Like they were trying to sell her.
If the mother's not sure exactly what she was wearing, here we have documented evidence of what she's wearing, and that becomes important when they put the Amber Alert out. At least for the day or a few days immediately following her
Who is
abduction.
they?
They want to be able to say that she was wearing a yellow shirt.
I'll go to the beginning again because you was talking when the beginning played.
Sure.
Yeah, go ahead.
So JJ, let's pick up on some of the players in the case. So we're working on the Dulce Marie Alavez case, 5 years old, missing out of Bridgeton since mid-September of 2019. This is a photo that the mom originally provided of Dulce in her kindergarten uniform. She was going to school at a Buckshootum school. She'd only been there a week or so and had come home from school that day. When she came home from school, the mother said she took a little while to get dressed. They were going to go out. It was a beautiful afternoon. She put on this
So Danielle's saying that when she Googled that YouTube channel that she found, it looked like they was basically like displaying her off, like, you know what I mean? Like trying to display her off, like a demonstration type of thing.
Yellow shirt that had, I think, a hippopotamus on it and some flowered pants, sandals. This is a picture of her at that Sunoco gas station about an hour or so before she went missing. How critical a piece of this information of the last visual video of the little girl is to this investigation?
Well, it's important in that if the mother's not sure exactly what she was wearing, here we have documented evidence of what she's wearing, and that becomes important when they put the Amber Alert out. At least for the day or a few days immediately following an abduction. They want to be able to say that she was wearing a yellow shirt with a hippopotamus on it and checkered pants or flowered pants.
Sure.
And if the mother, can't remember, Dulce might have picked out her own clothes, so the mother may not have really been paying attention to what she was wearing. So this is important, and that we know what she was wearing when she disappeared.
I want to walk you through Bridgeton City Park a little bit. So from that Sunoco station, which is kind of over here in Bridgeton, they would have likely driven into the park this way on Babe Ruth Drive. This is another through street. Bridgeton High School is right over here. This is the basketball court and the park, and this is where the mother parked, right here in this little parking spot. It's next to a concession stand that's no longer in use. So this building was not operational at the time. They park here. Mom and younger sister stay in the car. They're scratching off lottery tickets, and Dulce and her younger brother Manny go running through these trees here, which they're a little more dense at this point than they are now. This basketball court, there's a hill around it. There's a fence around it. It blocks the view of this playground. How challenging is this terrain after the fact for authorities, including the FBI, the card team who arrived the next day?
Well, I don't know that necessarily you could say it's challenging, but obviously the problem is, now you're losing a key eyewitness in the mother, and that she can't see the playground where Dulce is headed to before she disappears. And obviously there are no cameras in any of these buildings, even the operational buildings. So there's really nobody who's a potential witness to this, unless there just happens to be somebody else in the park at the time.
Yeah, there were
walking
people
a dog or playing basketball.
Yeah, and they've interviewed all those people, and they've interviewed some of those people multiple times. Are they important witnesses?
Well, they are, because obviously they were a lot closer to the last place we know Dulce was, which is that playground before she disappeared. If they're playing basketball, they may not be paying attention to two little kids going to a playground in a park. There's nothing unusual about that. So,
sure.
It's hard to know what the value of their information will be, but clearly if they had a view of the playground, one of them could have seen somebody who might have led Dulce off behind that Public Works building, what the younger brother talked about.
Yeah, we're told the younger brother dropped his ice cream somewhere in this vicinity and had seen a person in either that red van, red truck, Hispanic gentleman, light skin, medium build, acne on his face, somewhere behind these buildings. That's quite a distance from where she was parked at that point, and no surveillance cameras on here, and no surveillance cameras put in since. Had they put in surveillance cameras since then? Would that help with anything?
No, I mean, not with this investigation. Obviously, you need surveillance contemporaneous with her disappearance. Now, they wouldn't serve any purpose in this investigation.
Okay. I'm going to move over to the mom, and we talked about this a few minutes ago, but she was interviewed until after midnight, the same night that Dulce disappeared. She was at the park the next day. Talk to me about what you see in this picture here and the demeanor, and how important her demeanor might have been to authorities that day.
Well, immediately after the abduction, it's hard, I think, to put too much importance on the demeanor of a parent. Now, clearly, if there are no eyewitnesses to the abduction, the police are going to go on the assumption that it is an abduction, but they're always going to start closest to the victim. Mm-hmm. I mean, if you think of the relationships to a victim as concentric circles, the mother, the father, who is not, wasn't in the area, lives in Mexico, and he's kind of out of the picture. But you're always going to start closest and move out, because the simple fact is stranger child abductions are relatively rare. It's almost always a relative, or someone who has a relationship with the victim. So that's where law enforcement's going to start. So,
well, we're still on mom.
Right. So her demeanor immediately after the reported disappearance, it's important in the big picture. I don't think we can say just based on her demeanor at the time of that interview. I don't think we can necessarily put too much importance on her demeanor right then, mm-hmm. but it is certainly something that behavioral analysts are going to look at. Her demeanor then, her demeanor during the 911 call, her demeanor during these media interviews.
Or a polygraph, per
right.
se.
Her demeanor during a polygraph or during the law enforcement interviews, which obviously we as the public don't have access to, but the
Certainly.
FBI's behavioral analysis unit does.
Yeah, we don't know the outcome of a polygraph. We do know that she had 1 or 2 cell phones, and one was given back to her. So while we're on mom here, Would they give her cell phone back if it contained critical evidence?
No. I mean, if the phone had something on it that was evidence of a potential crime, the police would keep it.
For that very reason.
Right, because now it's evidence of a potential crime. They don't know, the prosecutor may not know exactly how that evidence is going to be used ultimately at this point, but it's evidence.
Sure.
So they're going on the assumption that a crime has been committed here, which, a child abduction or a child disappearance, is. So the prosecutor is looking at how are we going to prosecute this, if it ever gets to that. I mean, the police obviously are looking for as much forensic evidence as they can collect to use in the investigation, and the prosecutor is thinking about how are they going to prosecute the case. So, yeah, if there's evidence on a phone, they're keeping that phone, even after they get the evidence off of it.
Okay, this is Chief Michael Gaimari of Bridgeton City Police. He arrived with his officers that day, and right away they were on the ground thinking this is hide and seek. This is a child who wandered off into the woods.
99 times out of 100, that's what it is.
Okay, nothing was done wrong at that point. I'm not trying to point blame, but he really only had what the mother gave him to go on, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
And the mother didn't see the abduction per se. All she knows is what her 3-year-old son said. How reliable is a 3-year-old? A 3-year-old is not going to be a witness in a criminal trial. So I think the police are going. They have to be careful in how they approach this, but they're going to say, okay, we have a missing child. Whether it's an abduction or a child wandered off, we have a missing child. Priority one, let's find the child.
Certainly.
No matter how the child disappeared, priority one is finding the child, and they're going to do whatever they can in the minutes and hours after that to do that.
How vital is an Amber Alert, obviously, because it goes out, across the country, but this was 30 hours beyond when she went missing.
That is a lot of time, and obviously an Amber Alert, if you have a usable description of a suspect, of a vehicle,
or a license plate, which we do not in this case.
Right, but at least they had originally, they were putting out information about a red van. You want to get that information out to as many people in the public as possible, to as wide a distribution as quickly as possible. While that potential suspect, that potential vehicle, is closer to the crime scene. The more time that elapses, the further away they can get, and the harder it's going to be to get any usable information.
For the police chief, we see his demeanor here a little bit, and the prosecutor, Jennifer Webb McCrae. Give us an idea of what the conversation is prior to addressing the media and the press, together with the grandmother, and pleading for that help. What's some of the talk behind the scenes?
Well, obviously, if the prosecutor is going to come and make a statement, the prosecutor is not involved in the investigation from the beginning. That's the police department and the police chief.
Sure.
So obviously, the police department is going to brief her on as much as they know at that time. The prosecutor is, going to make a statement, but they have to be careful because they have to prosecute the case if someone is ever arrested, if a crime was committed. So they have to think of the evidence of potentially, tainting a jury. So, typically they're not going to put out a lot of information. The police department, even to this day, could have very singular information that they don't want to make public. That's really not going to help catch a person who may have abducted her. So, those conversations are going to go on between the police department and the prosecutor. Here's everything we have. Here's what we should make public. Here's what we don't think we should make public and why.
It could feed people information, and then they're coming forward to say what they learned on TV.
Yes.
Okay.
I mean, because if you're looking for tips from the public, you want those tips to be first-hand information, not second-hand information or people who are trying to get themselves on TV.
The grandmother in the case, to our knowledge, she only speaks Spanish. She's been very emotional every time we've seen her. We don't see the family dynamic here appearing anyway outwardly when we're there with them to be very loving. Does that weigh in? We know that grandmother actually had custody of Dulce, so she lived there. She didn't live with the mother. She lived with the grandmother. How significant is that?
Well, it could potentially be very significant, and it's clearly something that the investigator is going to look at, something that the behavioral analysis unit is going to look at, to try and build a picture of what was the family dynamic. Is there anybody in the family that might have motive.
Or want her gone?
Or want her gone. I mean, that's certainly a consideration in these types of instances. And, we can look back at many, many cases where a parent or another close relative is responsible for the death of a child, either on purpose or accidentally. So there could be a lot of things, one, that we're not seeing publicly, and two, that, the police are looking at, and certainly family dynamic, family relationships. Who did the victim live with? Who did the victim spend most of their time with?
And why? Right.
And why? Who are the biological parents? Who might be raising the child? These are all factors that the investigators are going to look at to try and build an accurate picture of why this child might have disappeared.
Behind the scenes, are they piecing this together similar to how we are with a puzzle and drawing lines and trying to make those connections as well, be it, cell phone calls and who pinged what tower and all of those things,
Right.
I imagine?
Yeah, they're certainly going to try and put together a picture of everybody that has a relationship with Dulce and the victim.
Sure.
And all of the communications that could have gone on, all of the relationships, the family dynamics, that's all going to factor into this. But again, there's also the possibility that this is a stranger abduction. Someone completely unrelated to her abducted her for whatever reason. So, they're also going to be looking at that possibility, and that's where things like the Amber Alert and the appeal for tips and continuing to look for any surveillance video that they might have missed. 5 months is a long time. Most systems that are recording video are not keeping it that long.
Sure.
So it's likely at this point that there is no usable surveillance video anywhere, even if they got a tip that the car was seen in a certain area.
That chance is gone.
Probably.
This is who the family has told us is the father, who is now 25 years old and lives in Mexico. And how would investigators try to track him down? And if and once they do, what are they asking?
I mean, I understand that the person who, at least we believe, is the biological father, was interviewed. So the Bridgeton police would work through the FBI with that, and the FBI.
That's their role internationally. The FBI.
Well, the FBI has legal attaché offices in embassies and consulates all over the world. There's a legal attaché office in Mexico City that covers Mexico. So FBI agents who are assigned to the Mexico City legal attaché office would work with local authorities to locate and interview the person who's been identified as her biological father.
Asking things like,
well, they would probably want to know.
when's the last time you saw her?
Right. Did you have any communications? Anything relevant to her living in the U.S. with her family? I mean, he's not really part of their family, but any information that he might have about family dynamics, about the relationship between the victim and her mother, her grandparents, all of that. Any records he might have communications, phone calls, texts, emails.
They're looking at his phone too.
Right. They would look to see, does he have any connection or any relevant information? Has anybody communicated or contacted him about her disappearance? That would all be relevant. So they would look at that. I mean, obviously, U.S. law enforcement authorities don't have subpoena authority in Mexico. They don't have the ability to compel him to be interviewed,
or bring him
back unless he's charged with a crime, and then he could be arrested by the local authorities and extradited. But no, they can't force him to come back. But the legal attachés offices work very closely with local law enforcement. I'm sure local law enforcement will help locate him, talk to him. But he would be interviewed by FBI agents in Mexico and local police.
JJ, a month after Dulce was taken, this was a sketch that Bridgeton police put out to us, and they didn't even go as far as to say this person was a person of interest. They said this is a man they want to talk to. What does that mean?
It means that they don't really have sufficient information to say that they think he is the person responsible or even involved. So it is somebody that they think has information
I believe that's a made-up sketch, for real.
that's relevant to this. They're not saying why they think that, and that may be information that they want to keep a little close to the vest because they don't want to tip their hand about how they've come to this description and this forensic sketch. But it certainly does match the description that they initially put out in the Amber Alert of a young Hispanic male with a thin build. Now, and then initially in the Amber Alert they said no facial hair. In this, he appears to have mustache and a small goatee, but the
So
forensic
the acne on
artist
the
has put some
skin,
acne
right.
on his face. They could be going off both the information provided by Dulce's 3-year-old brother and maybe people who are playing basketball in the park that might have seen somebody, or anybody else who could have been in the park that might have seen somebody in the park. They might not be able to say, yes, we saw this person at the park near the playground, or we saw this person in a red van. It may just be a common description that they got from several witnesses who were in the park at the time.
Seeing everything that you see here, are you convinced that she was in the park?
Well, I don't know that there's any way to know that at this point. I mean, we have her mother saying they went to the park, and her 3-year-old brother who is providing information that's consistent with them being in the park. But and again, we don't know if witnesses who might have been on the basketball courts might have said
Corroborated that.
that they were in the park. We don't know that because the police are not putting that information out publicly. But I think we go with the assumption that she was in the park and that's where Dulce disappeared from, but it's not the only possibility.
Right.
So we look at it in those terms, that yes, it is one of many potential possibilities, and I think the police probably have a pretty good idea whether or not she was really in the park or not.
Sure. Last 1 or 2 questions, just because I'm thinking of them now, but what we didn't touch on was the fact that they are relying so heavily on a Hispanic community to not be fearful that their immigration would be in jeopardy and to come forward. And potentially, could it take one person, just like we talked about chewing gum or a cigarette butt, does one person potentially hold the key in that community, and what challenges that it is a largely Hispanic community?
Well, that's certainly a challenge. There could be somebody out there who has a piece of information that could be very, very important, and they are afraid to come forward because of their immigration status and their fear of deportation. That is a challenge for law enforcement all over this country, in communities of immigrants who are here both legally and illegally.
Sure.
And it has sparked a lot of debate about the role of law enforcement in immigration and enforcing immigration laws. In a lot of instances, police departments have come out publicly and said, we are not here to enforce immigration laws. We are here to investigate and enforce local laws that we're responsible for. But those communities don't always believe that. You have some communities that are naturally suspicious of any law enforcement, whether it's local, state, or federal. And it poses real challenges in a case like this where there appears to be so little available forensic evidence, surveillance video. There's not much that's been put out publicly that says they have a lot to go on right now. So what they need is tips from the public, and that public is largely at this point an immigrant community that's probably afraid to come forward.
Right. It doesn't take hundreds of tips, it could take one.
It could take one. They're going to get hundreds and thousands of tips. The vast majority of those are going to be false or just inaccurate. But there is information out there. Somebody has information about this, whether it's a relative of Dulce's or a complete stranger.
Right.
Somebody saw something and has some information about where she is.
Right, a child just doesn't vanish off the face of the earth. When does a case, JJ, become a cold case?
There's no hard and fast rule. Certainly in a child abduction, the case is never going to be closed. If it appears that, and there may not be any forensic information at this point to say that a murder has been committed. I mean, there's no way to know. I mean, obviously you hold out hope that she was abducted and that she's alive and well somewhere. The more time that goes on, the less likely that starts to appear. But you're always going to hold out hope. But certainly at some point the trail of information and evidence is going to grow cold. The longer you get time-wise from the crime, obviously people's memories fade. Forensic evidence disappears. That's what's going to make a case cold. There's probably no usable surveillance video unless somebody calls in a tip that they saw someone that matches a description. They can pull surveillance video now that might show an image, could potentially be her. It's going to grow colder by the day at this point, and that's unfortunate, and that's why it's important to, at this point, to keep information out there about her so that maybe that tip does come in.
As I look at this again, now I get to thinking, has she, okay, I could agree with the fact that they were at the park, but did she go missing from the park? Now that's the question, because this guy seems to think that, okay, they were at the park, but it could be other possibilities from where she went missing from. So did she go missing from the park? And as someone mentioned in the chat room, that sketch do kind of look like bro. That sketch kind of do look like bro. I got a picture of the brother next to that sketch. I just haven't pulled that up yet, and it kind of look alike. I'll do that on the next one. On the next show, I'll bring that up. I gotta find it in my files.
But they stated those two girls that were there, that's how they got that red van description, because those two girls that were there placed her at the park, and that somebody seen her getting buckled into that van. So we know that she was taken from the park, because
and
nobody can say that and then renege on what they said.
And then we go back to the girls, but then we hear earlier in the conversation, we hear that she was talking to two gentlemen. Like, which one is it? Was it just the girls there at the park playing basketball, which kind of seems strange to me, because like someone mentioned in the chat room, how many girls do we see at the basketball court shooting ball? Not very many. I mean, at that, nowadays, yeah, you got a lot of females that do play ball, but you really don't see that as often. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, it kind of got me thinking now, like, where did this little girl really go missing from? It's a bigger conspiracy to this thing than what we're seeing. The more and more I look into it, the more questions I have.
I think that if someone seen her getting into a vehicle and getting buckled in, that's like giving. They didn't even say that she was kicking and fighting, because think about it. If she was doing all of that, they probably would have said or yelled, or maybe had even, went up to her and actually told her, hey, yeah, that van that just left from here just took your kid. When she's obviously asking around where her daughter is, it would have been more of a concern, them telling her that way, instead of saying that, that they just seen a gentleman running in the back of the building, and then one of them stated that, she was being buckled into the back of the seat. That means that it just looked too normal. To those girls, or to those people that actually seen her getting into the vehicle, it just looked like, that, and it probably looked like she was there with her father, because it just looked so normal, and nobody thought that that's what was happening at the moment. Nobody thought that she was actually getting abducted. Nobody thought that that's what was happening, or even taken, or even sold, or whatever the situation might have been. Nobody knew at that exact time when she was being placed in the vehicle, like those witnesses are saying, right?
Right. Yeah. Sheesh, I don't know. And then
I'm just saying, wouldn't that be? It was normal. That's why it must be somebody that she knew.
Somebody she knew.
Somewhere.
That's what
somewhere. School, church, home, wherever she used to go to when the grandparents were at work. Who did she used to stay with when the grandma was working at the factory?
Okay.
Did she used to stay home?
And then who's to say that that's actually true, that somebody's seeing her being buckled into a red van?
Yeah, but at this point, we don't know if anything is true, but...
Because I really don't think that... I mean, I don't know, because I got some other stuff that I was looking into of the red van that we was talking about the other day. And Miss Jackie said that law enforcement said they excluded that van, but when I look at at the images closer, it kind of looks like the area.
Yeah,
So,
right there. It is, and I talked about it yesterday on the live. I didn't talk. I mentioned what was on Burt Street is that Cherry Hill School. Then it's that stadium that kind of like looks like the stadium that's in the video. And then behind the stadium is like that football field, that field right there that everybody's playing. That same half a field that somebody claims that Noema was parked away. There's no way. This lady was parked right. It wasn't no half a field. It was no football field. It was no half a field. It really wasn't that far. When we pulled up into the parking space, what did we say? We looked at each other and we was like, we would do this.
oh, what you talking about? The distance from where she
Yeah,
parked
the
at?
distance from the park.
Oh yeah, that wasn't that wasn't not
That's
even-
not. Yeah, we both looked at each other and said we would do this. To smoke a cigarette.
Yeah.
We would have. It's not that the distance was not that
Might have
outrageous.
been like 25 yards away.
The thing she did wrong was not getting out the car, and she chose to scratch that lottery ticket. Okay, that's what got her messed up. That's just like somebody pulling up and they're smoking a cigarette and their kids are in the car, right? You're gonna let your kids are gonna run off, right? And then you're still gonna be getting out the car. Kids always get out the car first and they start running. The parents are always last to actually get into the park. It's known to be that. Nobody ever walks with their children hand in hand into a park. They don't. Those kids, as soon as you put that car in park and they hear that car shut off, that door is open and they're gone.
You're right about that. They be out. I mean, I've done it. I've taken the kids to the park and sat in the car and smoked my cigarette or whatever. But I'm right there. I could see them good. If I had to hop out and run, I know I could catch them.
Yeah, it just looked normal. It looked too normal. And nobody knew that something was happening. Whether it was planned by the mother or whoever, because it's always planned. An abductor would always be thinking of how they're going to kidnap a kid.
And then
Or
I'm wondering if little Manny, if they have little Manny like under some like have people working with him. I mean, there's things that you could do, that professionals could do with little kids like that have, problems that like he does that he can't speak or whatever, and they could get information out, that way. Something like what they did with little Billy's sister, how they put her under hypnosis or whatever.
yeah.
I mean, it's not 100%, but you know what I'm saying? They
Yeah.
can get something out of it.
And they probably are. I mean, we don't know if somebody's actually, working with him in that department, because it wouldn't be up to Noema technically, because he was the last person to have seen Dulce, and they're gonna try to get enough information from him. So, are they doing that in the police department? Like, are they, doing all of that stuff?
That's interesting. Miss Cindy Cole says that there was a Joe Alavez out in
Alavez.
It says Alavez there in California, staying with Matias Molina, who claimed that there was a little girl that suddenly appeared and cried non-stop all day.
Yeah, I had the screenshot of that.
Yeah, that's something that make you go,
Yeah, and then he went, listen, it makes you go, when you first seen the post, right? And then me, I hopped right on the post, and I believe his last name was Salinas or something like that. No, that wasn't Salinas, California, but I just ran across the screenshot of that gentleman. But anyway, he was saying that he was using his wife's Facebook, right? at the time, like, because he posted it and then he never came back on for like 4 or 5 days later, and everybody was wondering, what happened to you? You just stated that and then you left. And everybody was asking him, oh, did you report it? Did you call the cops? Did you do this? Did you go? And he was like, but I never knew that my neighbor had a baby, And then anyway, the whole point is that after like 3 weeks of people chasing him, he announced that he didn't know that she actually had a baby. So that was her baby. He stated it on the Facebook. So he was a phony.
So that's the Alavez,
Yeah.
in California.
Yeah. I actually have it. I'll send it to you.
Yeah.
I'll send it to you. I actually ran into it the other day. I should have. I didn't send that to you yet because that's like one of like another minor distraction that happened because this guy just posted that on there randomly and then he was saying that it was his wife's Facebook, and then he came up after that and stated that he apologized but that he never knew that his neighbor actually had a kid. And then that was weird. How you not know that your neighbor had a kid and all of a sudden one day when you're in a group and you join and you're missing and you're in a missing child's group, you're all of a sudden linking your neighbor to somebody that's halfway across on the other end and then come back and say, oh, I'm sorry, I never knew she had a baby.
Right, and then it was a little baby, or was it a 5-year-old little girl? I mean,
He never stated anything after that. I think he actually left the group.
see, it kind of makes you go, why would you just bounce off the group like that?
Yeah, we seen the camera. We seen that guy staring at Dulce at the store. We actually did a video on that. Like he was just looking at her like eye candy. We've actually questioned that video numerous times. Thought that maybe he had part of it, and there was actually someone that kind of resembled him.
So what's I'm sorry, I don't mean to cut you off, but what was that actual last name on that California deal? Was it Alavez or Alvarez?
Alvarez.
Oh, okay, so it wasn't Alavez.
No.
Okay. Yeah, this case is confusing, and we've been on here for over an hour. You know that I like to keep my joints down to 1 hour. Any last words that you have for the audience, Brenda?
Yeah, no, I was telling Nicolas, we're sorry that we weren't talking about that actual video today, so we apologize and us not going back. But if you want to look up,
hit that subscribe button and
check out the videos.
Like that, you're notified whenever I go live, and that way you don't miss not a bit of what we're talking about here on the Moises Beauchamp Jr. YouTube channel. All right. In closing, Miss Brenda.
All right. No, that was all. Thank you guys for coming in today. And tomorrow or the next day, we're not going to be sure if we're going to do it tomorrow or the next day, but we want to talk about this movie that's coming out about the Palace of Depression. I think it's called something like the Retaliations or something like that. But when we get the information, we'll let you know about it. It's supposed to be about a guy looking for like a criminal or something like that, and they're using the Palace of Depression and GM Petrol Park.
All right. Okay. Well, thank you for co-hosting with me here tonight, Brenda. You know that I love you, girl.
Love you today.
I'll talk to you here in a little bit.
Okay. Good night, y'all.
All right. My awesome viewers, thank you for stopping through. Thank you, Elena, Cindy, Jackie, everybody that tuned in. Thank you. If this is your first time on the channel, hit that subscribe button and that bell. Now there's a bunch of you on here watching, so let me see them. There's 18 people in the room right now, so I ought to have 18 thumbs up on the screen. With that said, my good people, this is your boy Moises Beauchamp getting up out of here. Y'all make it a phenomenal evening. Y'all be blessed. I'll catch y'all on the next one.